Hello and welcome to Gyro Step Podcast Network Game 3 NBA Finals live stream. We're back. The Bucks are winless since we've been doing this, but we're convinced it's not our fault. We're going to power through to tonight's win, speaking it into existence. I am Windisch, one host of the Gyro Step Podcast. I am joined by Rohan, Katti, my fellow Gyro Step host, and Adam McGee, one of the two Win in Six podcast hosts. Jordan Tresky, the other one, banned from the program for the Suns in 7 prediction. That's the story we'll go with. Adam, Rohan, how's it going?
It's going good.
Yeah, ready to watch some NBA basketball, NBA Finals basketball that's happening in Milwaukee. Like, that's incredible. First time since 1974 this is going to be a thing. It's a great scene downtown. It's fantastic right now.
It is. It's exciting times. Gucci Mane is back. That was when I saw, I think it was Jeff Zilgett tweeted out a list of all the famous people. David Bakhtiari is there. The record in games where he chugs a beer is not great, but he's going to power through that just like we're powering through the pre-games. Gucci Mane is back. Aaron Rodgers not in attendance. That's going to be fun. I think he's going to show up to a game eventually, but let's not focus on that whole can of worms right now. I think all of our vibes are surprisingly good, all things considered. Frustrating 2 games. Adam, you kind of shook your head. Are your vibes not good?
No, I'm not surprised that the vibes are good. This is the moment that the vibes were always meant to be good for. First game back home. This has been the script that I've set out, and I'm sticking to it. It's that things are going to come good back in Milwaukee.
We like to hear that. So Rohan, give me either your key to the game or what you need to see from the Bucks for them to pull out Game 3. What are you looking for? It can be schematic. It can just be, someone hitting a certain type of shot or any type of shot, Chris Middleton. But Rohan, what do you need to see from these Milwaukee Bucks?
I think you already mentioned it. I need to see Chris Middleton getting going early. Last game, Game 2, we saw Drew Holiday be aggressive early on. He sort of got going. He took like 11 shots by early in the second quarter. It was very obvious that the Bucks are trying to get him going offensively. What they need to do is try to get Chris Middleton going offensively. We know that he is one of the streakiest players. He needs to get in a rhythm in order to be like a great player. Especially we've seen in these playoffs. Like, there's a reason that he has had his great games later on in series because he needs to get into a rhythm. And it's finally time. It's do or die time now. You got to get into a rhythm early. We know Giannis is going to be Giannis. And after that incredible performance in Game 2, we know that he's up to the challenge. We've talked about this all season long. He's the consistent one. It's up to Chris. It's up to Drew. They need to show up, and most importantly, it needs to be Chris.
Adam, go ahead. What are you thinking is the key to the series? I feel like I know where you're leaning, and it's your age-old
I don't want to
preference.
just say the thing I keep saying over and over again. So I won't get to that, although it's definitely related to that. And I agree with Rohan, but I would be concerned if the Bucks seek that out too much early on. If you're looking a little bit too much to get Chris and Drew going, because if that doesn't happen, you could be out of the game in the first quarter, and you're not just out of the game, you're basically out of the NBA Finals at that point. So what I want to see is them carry over the aggression that was there for much of Game 2 and just get to the paint, just absolutely pulverize the Suns inside, attack them inside, attack Ayton. When Torrey Craig is in the game, you're going to want to test him. I'm very impressed / amazed. Yeah. I mean, he's had considerably less time than Giannis had to come up with his own miraculous recovery. But I want to see Giannis basically go at this Suns defense. And I want to see the Bucks generally look for points in the paint. Whether that is, yes, Brook Lopez. I was trying to find a way not to just come out and lead with it. But whether it is Brook Lopez or if it's you're getting Drew to get inside to get some of his points and get his confidence going, that's really what I want to see, because that gets you in the game. And if you're getting a lot of joy inside, well, then the shots outside are going to be of a much higher quality. Hopefully that's then when Chris can really come in and kind of pour some in.
For me, I want to see the starting 5 more, or really, honestly, the core 4 more. If you want to see more of Pat for PJ Tucker in the second half especially, I know, Adam, you and Jordan talked about that a lot on the last Win in 6. Make sure to go check that pod out if you haven't already. it's long enough where if you get sick of the commentary on the game, you can just put it on and it'll run through the entire game.
For sure.
Probably including halftime.
You start it now at like 20 times speed. Maybe you'll get through before tip.
20 times speed is a new one. But I need to see the starters or the core four play. Chris, Drew, Giannis, Brook Lopez. The Bucks starters have only logged 21 finals minutes versus 52 for the Suns starters. Despite Phoenix's starters having a really good net rating in the series, the Bucks starters do too. I mean, for how the series has gone, they're +9 in their 21 minutes. Like, they've won those minutes. Unfortunately, nearly half, 9 of the 21, are in first quarters. So, like, those lineups start strong, and we just don't see them again. And in terms of Brook Lopez, he's in 3 of the Bucks' best 4 lineups in the finals so far. So there's evidence here. It's not just like we think this could work. It has worked in really small samples. We just need to see more of it and less of going away from the big guy, Brook Lopez. I think we need to see the Bucks weaponize their size. You can't go small and beat Phoenix. Phoenix is better small. I mean, they're tiny. Their best players are tiny. It's what they do. The Bucks need to get inside, move the ball. More importantly, just keep getting in the paint. The way Giannis got so many guys in foul trouble in Game 2, that feels like a part of a good blueprint for the Bucks going forward.
I agree. I mean, it's there for them. It's an obvious pad. I mean, the one thing I'd say when you look at overall the minutes that the starting 5 or the core 4 have played together throughout the series, and you compare it to the Suns, I think there's 2 factors in that. One is obviously Giannis has been working his way up, and in Game 1 he was limited 35 minutes he played, right? So it's 13 minutes straight away. That's off the table. And the thing that's also happened in both games is just they've got a little too scared too soon about Brook. And you take that out of it, I mean, I feel like there's probably a very strong overlap of minutes that Chris and Drew have played together, but it's really been the other two. With Giannis's health hopefully trending upwards, there should be fewer minutes where he's not going to be out there. Certainly, he'll be up to what we saw in Game 2, which passed the 40-minute mark. And then it's just find a few more minutes for Brook. Really, you can do it, but you know, it's not going to hurt you. And even if you have a moment where it's like, this is a little bit shaky, don't panic, because the options you're going to go to instead are not going to be better on either end of the floor. I think that's the key thing. Going to Brook is leaning into your strengths on both sides.
I think we might have some minutes discrepancies if Coach Bud listens to Reva in chat saying I should play all 48 minutes and we win by 67 points. That might not happen. I can't say it won't happen.
I mean,
I'll say it.
At this point, I might rather see Rohan than Forbes out there. I will put that out into the
even I will not go that far.
My runner was looking good yesterday. I was playing a bit. It was a little one-legged runner. It was cash.
Unless they run the play for Rohan. If they run the play for Rohan, then I'm out. But otherwise, I'm willing to give it a shot. So we talked about weaponize your size. One thing I want to dig into a bit is we've said it a few times. I don't know, on this show, before this show, on Twitter, everywhere. It's the biggest Bucks game of the last 46 years, right? They haven't been in the finals since, and this is the one. I mean, it's not literally an elimination game, but it's essentially win or you don't have a real shot of winning this finals anymore, this series anymore. I think any other season, if you told me the Bucks were in this predicament, I would be terrified about it. I do think the fact that they've had so many ups and downs this postseason has made me feel better about this, though. I mean, the Nets series being in a very similar spot, honestly, feeling a lot more hopeless at that point, and maybe the way that series went has kind of unrealistically lionized us all to how this team is. But I do think there's something to this idea of all these ups and downs. You know, the Suns haven't really seen the lowest of the lows this playoff run. I mean, they have Jay Crowder, the only finals vet, but this team has not been looked down at a deficit like that. It hasn't really been put in a situation where a series is in the balance. I do think the Bucks added experience there. You know, if they do tie this thing up, suddenly the pressure shifts back to Phoenix. I'd be interested to see how they respond. So I want to hear from both of you. Rohan, you go first. You know, is this just a narrative thing that I'm thinking about, or is there some truth to this idea of the Bucks have been through it more and thus are more prepared for this? Although, again, if they mess this one up, none of that matters anymore.
I mean, there definitely is credence to that. Like, they've shown this postseason that they're capable of coming back from deficits, that they're capable of, going through adversity, going through, whatever buzzword you want to say in terms of like the NBA playoffs. You've also seen just this postseason as a whole reflect that narrative, because this team's been in like the conference finals before and they collapsed. They absolutely collapsed. They've collapsed in the playoffs the last 2 seasons. It's happened. This team's been through it, and that's why they've not just this season, this postseason has prepared them for this. It's been years building with Chris, Giannis, and Bud specifically, just building up to this moment, in that they've been through all the trials and tribulations you want. They've been the underdog. They've been the favorites. They've gone out. They've lost 4 straight games before. They've just anything you could ever want. It's that Giannis clip, basically, where he's like, I've airballed free throws. I've missed 2 in a row in OKC. I've been dunked on. I'm still here. We're still in the moment. That's the mentality this team has. And I think it's going to come through tonight. Given they might not win this, but they're not going to just lay down. That's not how this team is built.
I think if either team wins all 3 home games, they're going to be NBA champions. That's obviously not the boldest it takes, but I think that's where the Bucks have to focus in now that they're in this spot, rather than being like, we've got to win 4 out of 5. It's like, win your home games and then steal 1 of 2. And it's that simple, and obviously that difficult to do as well. But I think if you can do that, I really like the chances of getting 1 game on the road. And the Suns would feel the same way if they were in the reverse situation. It's, the pressure is going to ramp up the deeper this series goes. So if you can just find your wins, get it back all tied up, and it becomes best of 3, well, then you're testing some entirely different things. And then even someone like Chris Paul, great player that he is, we know all of the heartache, all of the letdowns he's experienced in his career. If it's best of 3 and you're so close, but yet you might end up so far away again, what does that do? What does that do to everyone? What does it do to a Suns team that is just generally less battle tested? The likes of Booker, the likes of Ayton. This is a very new experience. So win your home games. Here we are. We're at the home games. All you can do is game at a time. Game at a time. Jordan said this on our Win at 6. This is like the kind of moment that coaches are born for. Like, Bud must be loving this, because you can legitimately come out and say, you've got to take this series game by game. And it's right. It's the only way you can take it right now. You've got to win this one. And when this is won, you've got to win the next one. And then it opens up just a little bit more for the Bucks, and you can start to think slightly bigger picture, or at least we can. But win your home games, and I think you'll be right there.
Adam in the chat brings up a good point. Another Adam, I assume. He's hoping the Suns try to double Giannis tonight, and that gets other Bucks open looks, and Giannis can assist on some of those, saying this team needs a confidence boost bigger than Giannis going for 50 and Bucks win. Listen, we're at the point in the season where any win is a good win and you'll take it. I do agree, though, at this point in the series, we've seen what Giannis can do against the Suns team. We know if it comes down to a Game 7, he might just play all 48 and put up 48 points. Like, we get that now. I do think there's that's a really good point of it would be better to get the other Bucks involved more, because Giannis isn't going to be able to win 4 by himself. If you watch Game 2, you know that. It's not going to work. You need the teammates to be involved. I think it wouldn't surprise me if we saw Giannis emphasize that in this game, trying to get Chris going. And not too much, as you mentioned, Adam. You can't force feed to an extent. It would be better for the Bucks, though, if this win was, finally can we get all 3 of the big 3 having really good games at once. And then Brook adds, 18 points on 9 makes or something like that. Like, I do think that's the blueprint for, like, the perfect result is a strong Bucks win, but it's not, Giannis is unstoppable and everybody else is kind of standing around and maybe Pat hits some threes. I do think the real recipe for sustained success in this series does include Chris and Drew making the most out of all that space and attention defenses give to Giannis.
I think the clearest path to that has to be Giannis comes out dominant and being the guy in the first quarter, and then the game opens up for everyone else. I don't particularly like when it goes the other way. We've seen in the past, Giannis comes out, he might be spraying great passes around. It's just not how the Bucks need to be doing it. All due respect to Milwaukee's other players, they aren't at that level where you're like, oh yeah, Giannis just pick out these passes and that's how we're going to live and die. You want him to go and get that to open up the floor, and then you can be much more selective, and then you can trust in guys who are going to have easier shots and a bit more confidence. But I think, one, just to put the message to the Suns, because like in the regular season, Giannis just had them figured out. You have a big game last time, go and do it again. Like the Suns, they know they can beat the Bucks if that's all they've got, but at the same time, I think it wouldn't do any harm for them to know, okay, well, Giannis is going to go for 40 plus for the next 5 games if that's what it takes. So the margin for error we have with other guys is not very significant at all. They then can't afford Chris to have a really good game, or can't afford Drew to have it. So I agree. I think that's a really good point. That's an important detail for how the Bucks approach this game. I still think the best path to doing that for the Bucks will go through Giannis coming out of the gate really forceful, aggressive, and dominant.
Yeah, Giannis can't really play passive. He can't be that guy. I agree with you completely, Adam. He needs to be the guy that sets the tone, which opens up everything for the other teammates, like you were just saying. That's how guys get in rhythm. That really is. Like Chris, he needs his own touches at some point. Like that's a given. He's going to get those. It's not just going to be Giannis handling the ball every single possession. But they need to realize, like, okay, this guy has it going. And that opens up Chris to get, some easier looks, to maybe get a rhythm going rather than some contested looks in transition. God, that 3 really bothered me in game 2. It really did. But those aren't the type of shots that are going to get you going. It's going to be these open looks that, sort of go into the flow. Adam, I know you've talked previously about Chris really needing like to handle the ball, get his touches in order to get into a rhythm. And while that's true, like open looks can't really hurt.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
I see a comment here in the chat that I need to address. There's a few we should address. I see is Jordan at Fiserv. Jordan is not at Fiserv. Jordan is at work tonight. Jordan will be at Fiserv very soon. And I think you may all know about it. I won't say any more for now, but Jordan may have something in the works.
Oh, we like to hear that. What is it? I don't want to. There's everything else in the chat is about the play. I don't know if I can.
Well, I wanted to go to Seth Stevens, who said, Suns fan crashing your show. I'd like to get perspective from the other side.
Oh.
Just want to shout you out and say you guys are great. I've enjoyed hearing you guys breaking down the series for this week.
Oh, I missed
Very
that
kind,
one.
Seth.
Thank you, Seth.
That is incredibly kind.
Our interactions with Suns fans have been very positive too. So, I can reciprocate that. That is not always the way it is. When the Bucks go up against a team in a series, there's been plenty of, high-profile cases where that's been clear for all to see at NBA Twitter in this particular playoff run. But so far, so good with Suns fans. So thanks for listening.
There's a mutual respect. Both teams are really happy to be in this moment, and they just appreciate the other. And it's great to see. It's really wholesome for the most part.
It's interesting how the worst Twitter experience was the one that their team got swept out. That's just, mutual respect. There wasn't mutual respect on the court. That there was no playing with food in that series. So. What I wanted to ask is about the rotations. So we know there's going to be some weirdness. I saw a play random motivational speech news ask from Seb in the chat. I haven't seen the clip. I'm sure as soon as we end this and I tune in, I will see a clip of that. That's the mantra so far. But we all know, I think, really hard to accurately predict what Bud's going to do game to game. He kind of coaches random in a way. We see things pulled out that we would not expect pretty regularly. Whenever people ask me, my thoughts on how they're going to handle something, I go, I don't know, Matt. Like, I don't know. It's gonna be a bit random, but
that's a more positive I don't know than a negative recently, right? Because there have been positive adjustments, and that's the other thing too is didn't necessarily feel like that against the Nets, like particularly early in that series that was coming. But now when it's you don't know what Bud's going to say or do next, part of that is because there could be something up his sleeve that we haven't thought of that might actually bring the Bucks some success. So let's hope it's one of those nights.
I agree. But so instead of trying to guess, because I think that's a fool's errand, what rotations do we want to see? And I don't need minute by minute breakdowns, but who do you guys want to see playing in this game? I think I'm assuming we all agree we're pretty happy with the starters remaining as they are. If anyone would like to argue for Pat over PJ, feel free. But those six are gonna play really. Who else do we want to see in this game? Assuming we don't want a 6-man rotation starting in Game 3, which feels pretty unsustainable.
I can go. I mean,
you might have to.
I don't think they will.
I don't think I would at this point.
You've got to try Bobby. This is a home game. You got to try Bobby with the crowd chanting his name, with all of that energy. See how it goes. It's going to be the last chance.
Players Tribune piece, by the way.
Yes.
Great Players Tribune piece. I've now officially been indoctrinated by Rohan. I am one of the cult. Hence why I decided to lead off with calling for Bobby minutes. But please, not too many minutes. It's just a few minutes, and we'll see how it goes in this particular matchup. Right now, where I'm at otherwise is I want Teague over Forbes.
Yeah.
Give me Jeff Teague minutes. Give me 10 max. But I think he's shown an ability to just hang around. If you are playing him and you are playing Portis, though, please don't play them both together.
That's the thing. Keep the core 4 out there for so much and then sprinkle in other guys. I think that's got to be the approach.
You can't run those sort of... We haven't seen that from Bud this postseason, really, like the all-bench lineups, but he's teeter. He's getting as close as he can possibly get right now. And it's not working at all, and it hasn't worked at all throughout these entire playoffs. So at least we haven't seen the all-bench lineups that we saw in previous years. But
he doesn't have enough players.
That's the thing.
That's true. Yeah, but
the Bucks would be better off if he at least had the option. You know, if he had the option, but he didn't necessarily go to it. I think that would be the sweet spot right now.
Yes.
I'll take what I can get.
Hopefully, in the championship defense next season, we get to encounter this situation a lot. X-Reva is manifesting an 8-for-8 3-point Bryn Forbes game, so we can retire his number. Am I right, Ty? At least 3 great games in a postseason run for me to consider the retirement. People keep asking about Teague.
Goes
he already
8-for-8.
Though.
Okay, first round doesn't. I don't care about the first round, Rohan.
How many of his last 8 shots has he hit the rim on?
Probably like 2.
So if he goes 8-for-8 in Game 3 of the finals, the Bucks, get an important win. I'll definitely lighten up quite a bit on where I've been with Bryn Forbes recently.
That's the funny thing to me about Bud and rotations. Like, he always trusts guys more than any of us do, and definitely more than people on Twitter do. Who
he's the coach, he has to.
Well, I know, but I think more than even some other coaches. I mean, he rides with guys for a bit. We've seen it pay off more in this postseason, and I don't know if that's just broken clock being right twice a day, as long as it's not digital or what. But we got the Teague game after a point where most of us were like, please God, no more Teague ever. Me especially. I don't know. Like, that's clearly why we keep seeing the 5 minutes of Bryn Forbes, right? Like, he's just like, please have it tonight so I can let you play 8.
You have to check. It's like, ooh, is this a flamethrower Bryn Forbes night? No. Okay, bye. That's the Bryn Forbes minutes at the moment, and unfortunately, those are they're still not good. They're not great, and even the little test he gets is actively a detriment. It's just unfortunate. The Suns team is too good and capitalizes on weak links right away.
Yep.
It's fair missing out for Bud, because yeah, the law of averages suggests just eventually one of these Forbes games is coming. So he's there twitching on the sideline. He's like, what if it's tonight and I don't play him?
He's like you in the Jeff T game.
Yes, somewhat. Except I would just say, you know what, bud, just take the chances. If it's tonight and you don't play him, maybe you'll win in a different way because you didn't play him, would be kind of where I'm at right now. But hey, we'll see.
I don't hate when he does the samples, but I do think, and to his credit, the deeper you go, the less you can afford it. And we saw, the Brooklyn series, right? Like, there was no more of that. It was like, okay, we're going to play the 6 guys who can survive. They're going to have to get the job done. And they did. And I think we will get there in this Suns series. The interesting question is, when do you get that desperate? I think...
Now.
Yeah, it's now.
6 guys? But
can they go there with Giannis, though, is the thing.
Yeah, that's a huge difference from then until now.
Like Adam, you mentioned this up top. This basically is an elimination game.
Yeah.
It really is. Or was that Ty?
It was me, but...
Okay, sorry.
Team player.
But it basically is an elimination game. It's do or die time. You gotta treat this like this is you win or you're going home, because you basically are.
But I still think you need to try Teague and or Bobby.
Sure.
That's the tough part about that's the hardest part about being in this situation is it's like that, but also like best case scenario, you have 4 to 5 more games, and there's no way you can ride Giannis for like 46 minutes a night for that long, especially in his current state. It's tough. I think Portis. I mean, maybe does the Players Tribune piece get him an extra couple minutes in this game? Maybe is Bud
Players Tribune bump? Is that your question?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know how Bud doesn't read that and just want to run through a wall. Maybe he starts in this game. I mean, that was great media. I think if Portis plays and has a great game, just wait and for the Bryn Forbes Players Tribune piece before Game 4. This is the new wave. Get yourself a media placement and get some more minutes.
Well, thankfully the starters are out, and we know that Bobby is not starting. I am in the cult, but if Bobby had been starting off the back of a Players Tribune article, Ty, I don't know if I'd been around for the post game.
We did see in Game 3 against the Nets when they were in the similar situation.
I was hoping you would pull this up. I'm glad.
Bryn Forbes played 15 minutes. Pat Connaughton played 12. Bobby played basically 12.
How many? Did Forbes shoot well in that game or no?
He was 0 for 4.
Oh, Christ. Okay.
A lot has changed for them, too. The idea that Pat would have less minutes than Bobby and Bryn is like...
Yeah.
No, he had less minutes than Bryn, more than Bobby.
Sorry, more than Bobby. Like, that's just, you can't fathom that at this point. Pat is the sixth man on this team. He is the guy who you're going to trust there. May not all go well. He needs to make shots for it to be, because he can be targeted defensively, but he will fight it more. And just given your other options, you're going to have to roll with that. The question is there anything else? The question is there like, do we get 30 seconds at Thanasis where he makes an impact and he gets another 30 seconds?
He did play 25 seconds in that game, that Game 3.
We're going back a while now. Like, that feels like years ago to me.
It was at the end of a quarter, I'm sure.
Of course, yeah.
It was, yeah.
I do think
Justin Jackson minutes, surprisingly.
I do think you can only play one of Forbes Portis against this team with the way they hunt. Like, I think if you play both of them, or like have the same, if you want to split up, I guess, the minutes, but you cannot play them together, and you can't play extended minutes of both. 'Cause that's just too many. Rohan, you mentioned the weak link thing. Like, that's too many. Like, I would rather see all Portis, no Forbes, I think, just to see what it does. Like, people will say defense, but what is Forbes doing for you on that end, even though he's a better fit to guard those guys?
I think he's just easier to fight those switches. It's the same thing with Pat. You're not going to roll over and end up with that switch as easy. He's going to be quick enough to just scurry off that, and you'll have a better chance of keeping him away from CP3 or Booker. You're not going to do it all of the time, but I think you have a better chance than you'll have with Bobby. That'd be my one concern on that. But I mean, generally as players, yeah, I'm all for that. If there's a way you can do it, like maybe you could play Bobby 25 minutes, but that's only going to be if he gets in the game, he starts playing well, and you build up a lead and the crowd builds up energy. That's an entirely different game to what we saw in game 1 and 2. And that's really the secret of it. If it's like game 1 and 2, Bobby cannot be on the floor. If you can make it something different at Pfizer Forum, maybe, what we're imagining the rotation having to be could be pretty much rewritten.
We are running, like we said, we were going to do this at until 7. The last thing that's really important here, this is a Scott Foster game.
Okay.
Chris Paul, 0 for 11, I believe, in his playoff career when being
begged for a tie.
Ref by Scott
I'm
Foster,
almost worried now that it gives CP the extra chip on his shoulder. Like, he might come out with a 30 and 30 game just to break this curse.
Why didn't he do it the last 10 times then?
I don't think the stakes were as such, Rohan.
He's also on a much better team.
They happened in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, again, this is the finals. Different energy.
Okay, that was basically the finals that year.
Fair. People said that about Bucks Nets, and look where we're at now.
So it might still prove to be true, Ty.
Yeah.
Just the fact that we're getting this good of a series, I don't think so, but I don't want to get into an extended thing.
No, we don't have time for an extended
we literally
thing.
don't. We'll wait until the post game on that.
Yeah, we shall see if the Scott Foster thing continues. But it is basically game time here. Everyone, thank you for tuning in to this Eurostep podcast.
Wait. I'm going to interrupt you very quickly.
Go.
We don't have time for score predictions. I know it's terrible.
I wasn't going to do it.
Game predictions, though. Just win or lose. Are the Bucks going to win?
I think they win.
I think they win, too.
That's a great way. That's a great positive energy to end this pregame show. Thank you to everyone for tuning in.
I did a whisper for Jordan.
Sure, whatever.
Come on, take us home, Rohan. Come on.
Yeah, I'm trying, but I keep getting interrupted. Thank you all for listening. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're subscribed to the Eurostep Podcast Network on your podcast platform of choice and this YouTube channel. Enjoy the game, everyone. We will be back with you with a post-game episode dropping in your subscription feeds for the aforementioned Eurostep Podcast Network on your podcast platform of choice. And go Bucks. Enjoy the game, everyone, and we will talk to you next time.